Today's stories include a major PlayStation leadership shakeup, PlayStation accounts on PC are getting a major change, and a shift in PS Plus games being offered. We'll have all this and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is Mr. Stars in the Bank.
Woo! Hey! It feels good to hear that.
Greg Miller.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you ready to give me Tim's star? I've been trying to cash the bank in for 2 days now, and he hasn't been here. I feel like it's only fair that I should get the star.
Are you scared that you can mess this up? Roll, you just fuck this up.
Me?
Yeah.
Greg Miller?
Because here's the thing,
Mr.
right?
Stars in the Jars, do you think he's going to screw this up?
Because like many people, here's the thing. Game Showdown, oftentimes inspired by many things, right? I won't say their names out of fear of litigation. But some might say, you know, Stars in the Bank similar to the WWE Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think Edge is the one that made it famous of like, oh, my opponent's already beat down. I'm going to go in. I'm going to cash in on them while they're already beat down. What does that look like for you? Like, because
catch him off guard.
You're going to catch him off guard? Like, how are you going to...
See,
where is he... When he's going to be in a state to where he can't answer trivia questions?
I mean...
You got to tape his mouth shut or something.
I've already bounced ideas off of you, and I think you know they're all absurd, and they're all going to catch him off guard. I mean, it's just like... It's just about getting him in a state, whether it be drunk, whether it be funeral, whether it be sleepy, whether it be wedding, whether it be some other bullshit we make up. Because that's the other thing. We can make up whatever we want. You know what I mean? We can figure it out. What if I wait and it is in the middle of a Nintendo Direct? Right? What if I do it in the middle of the Switch 2 reveal? And so then the only thing he can do is like, I got to end this as quick as possible to get back to the Switch 2 reveal. You win, Greg. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Would you sacrifice that piece of content?
1,000%. I don't think you know. I will burn. I will raise every field. I will burn every crop. I will do whatever it takes to get the star. This is my season.
Is because it'll still be headlined. Kind of Funny reacts to the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. We're still going to get those views.
But it's the thing of, you know, like a Switch 2 reveal might get 100,000 views at least, right?
Yeah.
And like maybe 20,000 of those people know what's going on. There's an 80,000 people watching that are like, what's happening? Why are they doing trivia all of a sudden? I want to see Mario.
Better way to make a new Kind of Funny best friend than to show them the absurdity we do. If they think we're just buttoned up, news all the time, they don't know about Ronald.
But I think the problem then becomes, like, there's a new Mario. Like, they're showing off the 3D Mario, right? And, like, all of a sudden, we're doing trivia. I'm trying to watch, like, how is he going to jump into the pipe this time?
Sure.
Meanwhile, Greg's over here.
And that's the good thing, too, is not only does it punish Tim, it punishes you, and it really encourages you as the host to finish this as soon as possible.
That's true.
And so I think, honestly, what you do is go, Tim, you can just forfeit the star right now if you want. That way, he just gives it up and the content goes fine. That would be my thing. You think, a lot of times, that's not, let me back to that. In modern culture, the word terrorist has been given a negative connotation. I intend to take that back.
Jesus Christ.
I intend to take that back.
No, I understand. Yeah, you're reclaiming it.
I'm taking it back, all right?
Taking it back implies that you had it in the first place. What do you mean you're taking it back?
I'm just saying, guys. Anything can happen when you got #1 terrorist Greg Miller on the scene.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if we can say all that. Shifting gears for a second, though.
Getting away from this? Yeah, go for it.
Getting away from this and getting into music and rhythm. Yesterday.
Elite Beat Agents. I was thinking about it, too.
Well, close.
We haven't talked about that in a long time.
Close. Rift of the Necro Dancer.
Yes.
This is one that I think you had like hit us up for. Does anybody want codes for Rift
the
of the
embargo
Necro
up?
Dancer? The embargo's up. Okay. I saw it this morning. And it's funny because I didn't know the embargo was up until I started seeing people on social media reviewing it.
Okay.
I only booted it up for the first time last night because I did a stream where I was just going through like, all right, what are the games I need to prioritize this year for the rest of this year? Now that there's been more things announced, I got to figure out my calendar. And I was watching trailers, and I watched the Rift of the Necro Dancer trailer, and I was like, oh, this actually looks really cool. I never played Crypt of the Necro Dancer. I played a little bit of Cadence of Hyrule, which is from the same developer. But Crypt of the Necro Dancer was never one that I got around to, even though it sounds like it would be my shit. Watching the trailer for Rift of the Necro Dancer, this one is interesting because I requested a code because I knew it was a rhythm game and I like rhythm games. I didn't realize how different this was. I think I saw the art style and immediately was like, this seems like, you know, I don't even know how I would describe it. It reminds me of, I guess, like Flash game type, like super like clean 2D, like simple. Well, simple is not the right word for it, but there's an art style to it that at first I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But after watching the trailer and understanding what it is riffing off, pun intended, more of Guitar Hero and that style of rhythm game as opposed to it being a dungeon crawler whatsoever.
As someone who appreciated the first one and was like, oh, that's cool, but I tried it and I was like, I got no rhythm and I don't want to try to fight on the beat. I did the same thing where I looked at the trailer for this and I was like, oh, it's Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I could play this.
And you go into the menus, and the menu reminds me of DDR in the way that like you have all these different tracks that you can jump into. I've not played that much. I only played last night a little bit before bed after I got home from volleyball, which for some reason was super late.
What is up with that? I look at my Instagram this morning, 10:09. You guys are doing volleyball.
Yeah, we signed up for a week. 10:30 is supposed to be the latest it would go, but like 7:30 is the earliest, and so I was hoping we get more 7:30 games.
Yeah,
and yeah, last night was a 9 p.m. game.
Damn.
Next week 9:45. Get hyped, everybody. But I got home, booted this up on my Steam Deck, started playing a little bit of it, and I was pleasantly surprised by not only how much I like the presentation of it, because the art style, I think somebody in chat said Cartoon Network, which I think might also be apt in terms of talking about how this looks like, right? But think of, if you're an audio listener, right? Like the Guitar Hero.
You got the lanes coming down and you have creatures on them.
But in the creatures is what makes this interesting, where you're essentially fighting these creatures that are your notes that are coming down the lane, but each of the creatures have different qualities. And so like you'll have like a slime creature, and like there's 3 different colors to the slime creature, which might like dictate different qualities it has. You have a bat, right? Like a bat that'll come down, and if you hit the bat will then move in the way that it's facing, and so you have to like hit it on the beat on the lane that it's in, but then hit on the very next beat the lane to the right or the lane to the left, depending on which way the bat's facing. And like between all these different, there's skeletons, which like if you hit a skeleton, the head will fall off and it'll go like the opposite way of the lane and then bounce back. Based on like all these different creatures and like what color the creatures are and all this stuff, they have different qualities. Where it is like you really got to pay attention to,
because it looks. One of my things is glancing at it looks so simple, but it sounds like there's way more under the hood.
There's way more under the hood, but it is simple. It's not like you got to memorize all these things, because as long as you're quick about it and like you see what's happening as it's happening, you'll be able to keep up. It's not like an insane level of complexity. Yeah. But I just thought it was very inspired as I was playing, and I was like, oh, I want to play more of this, and so I brought my Steam Deck to work. And I'm planning on just playing that at some point during the workday. Let me get into Rift of the Necrodancer more to see if I really fall in love with it. But enough about that, Greg.
Enough of that.
Let's talk about video game news, because remember, this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon, YouTube, and now Spotify and Apple Podcasts to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. Housekeeping for you. We're an 11-person business all about live talk shows. So today, after KFGD, you'll get GAMESCAST, which is the Avowed hypecast with Greg and Paris.
That's right. Paris Lilly, everybody joining us via the internet to talk about Avowed.
Talk about it.
I'm right now, if you don't follow me on Instagram.com/GameOverGreggy, I urge you to go there right now. I'm posting a story and it says, I like at Blessing Junior's shoes.
Oh, my shoes.
And it's a foot. I've never noticed these shoes before.
Well, I actually, like, these are probably like one of my oldest pairs of shoes. And I actually don't really like these shoes that
Stories
much.
up. Don't bring them up. Don't bring them up. Give me the second screen experience.
Okay, I'll give you the second screen.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, I appreciate it.
Chaperone posted something new too.
Chaperone
just turned her car. Huh?
Chaperone did what?
She posted. She's in the top of my feed right here.
Oh.
She's in her car.
Chilling? Is she recording a Gregway? Like, what's
no,
going on?
I mean, I don't know what she's doing. She's in her car. She's just like you and me. Drives a car. Who would have thought?
Wow.
Doesn't look like a fancy one either.
Wow. Humble. Gotta love that about Chaperone. The stream after GamesCast is going to be Kingdom Hearts 2 with Mike. If you're a Kinda Funny member, you can get today's Gregway, and you can get Aliens in Review this afternoon and tomorrow on YouTube and podcast services.
Let me tell you real quick. Alien in Review was one you didn't want to miss. Yeah. Aliens in Review, this is one you definitely don't want to miss.
Now, who's on this?
Me and Nick got something up our sleeve.
Is it just you and Nick on this?
No, Andy and Tim are here too.
Are you sure? Andy's
positive.
Here? Okay. Oh, that's exciting.
Trust me. That's why. Notice how the schedule changed twice yesterday? I'm on top of it. I'm on top of it.
I see. Well, don't miss that one. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Today we're brought to you by Built, Rewards, and BetterHelp, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 6 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Welcome back, Barrett.
Thank you.
Starting with story number 1. Sony leadership has a major shakeup. I'm pulling from Rebecca Valentine at IGN. Hideaki Nishino has been promoted to the sole CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment with his new position effective on April 1st, 2025. This comes from a press release dropped this evening. Of course, this article went up yesterday, which also reveals that Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki is being promoted to president and CEO of the entire company. He replaces Kenichiro Yoshida, who served as CEO of the company since April 2018, succeeding Kazuo Hirai, or Kaz Hirai. Additionally, the SVP, Finance, Corporate Development, and Strategy, Lin Tao, is being promoted to CFO. Just last year, it was announced that Nishino and Herman Holst would split the leadership of SIE between them after former CEO Jim Ryan's retirement, with Holst serving as head of PlayStation Studios and Nishino overseeing hardware and tech. With this change, Nishino now oversees the entire SIE operation, as well as leading the platform business group, while Holst will remain in his role heading up PlayStation Studios specifically. Nishino has worked with Sony since 2000, previously serving as SVP Platform Experience Group. Quote, "I am truly honored to take the helm at Sony Interactive Entertainment," he said. "Technology and creativity are 2 of our biggest strengths as we continue to focus on developing experiences that deliver entertainment for everyone. We'll continue to grow the PlayStation community in new ways, such as IP expansion, while also delivering the best in technology innovation. I want to thank Herman for his expertise and leadership as he continues his role as CEO Studio Business Group. I am deeply grateful for the PlayStation community and their continued support, and I am very excited for what the future holds." End quote. That's the end of Rebecca's article, but I want to bring in a little bit of more context from Variety, who say the handoff from Yoshida to Totoki also comes with a restructuring of the senior business ranks. Sony Pictures Entertainment, the company's Hollywood outpost, saw a leadership transition earlier this month when Ravi Ahuja took over CEO duties from Tony Vinciquerra. Greg Miller.
Yeah.
You've been covering PlayStation for decades. Almost 2 decades, right?
Yeah, 18 years coming up in March.
So you've seen a lot of leadership changes. You've seen a lot of things happening over there at PlayStation. What does this one do for you?
This one is an interesting one, and I don't know how much to read into it.
Sorry, Heroic Headgear says, "Yikes, Grandpa." You've been covering PlayStation forever.
For sure. You wish you had that kind of job security. All right.
That's fair.
Did you see the thing I put up yesterday? One of the kids doing the thing with Jerica sent me an email saying, "Hey, thanks so much for talking about drop in, drop out podcast." Blah, blah. And he goes, "I've been listening to you since I was in single digits, and I'm 25 now." And I was like, "Fuck, Jesus Christ!" You know what I mean? I need to hear that right there. I appreciate it. I love you. Thank you all for sticking with me so long. This is one where, how much do you want to read into it? How much do you not want to read into it? I think there's all options on the table, and I don't really know what to take away from it. I think there's we can go the negative side. Live service hasn't worked out the way they wanted. PlayStation's had a number of high-profile failures, some wins with Helldivers too. But like, was that ever the case? I saw people smarter than me yesterday on social media talking about like, well, they were always going to get to being one CEO. The co-CEO thing wasn't always going to work, and I was like, was it not? I don't know. I got it when they said they were doing that. I was like, oh, bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off. Clearly, it isn't. You know, Push Square had an interesting point in their write-up that I liked, and if you allow me to bring it in, right? It does. I'm joining Push Square already in progress. This is Sammy Baker over there, who's about to pull in something from Variety. It does suggest, however, that the dual CEO setup wasn't working as effectively as Sony management would have liked. Back in October, both Holst and Nishino attempted to explain their roles to Variety. Quote, "This is not co-CEOs. It's 2 CEOs for the company," Nishino confusingly explained. Herman runs his thing, I run my thing, and then we get together and talk about how to grow the business. Growing the business for success has a conflict as well. How we impact each other or how we want to sacrifice or not. It's a balance. It's an opportunity and a risk, end quote. That sounds confusing as fuck. And I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way to read into it, if in the more businessy, I would say positive way, is like, fucking CEOs of giant corporations and, SIE, right? A corporation within a corporation, or however you want to describe it, a division. It's like, that doesn't sound like that's running well. So it would make sense to give one of them the reins over it. And in my head, yeah, if you're a business, you'd give the business guy the business role, which I think is CEO of SIE overall, and let Herman continue to run first party. So many people yesterday wanted to read into this, the negative stuff, and be like, oh, Herman's been demoted. Oh, it's like, well, on a paper org chart, yes, there's now the guy who was next to Herman is now above Herman, sure, but a demotion for Herman would have been cool. You're no longer running PlayStation Studios. We don't believe in your vision that you're sharing, I assume, behind closed doors for what the next 5, 10, 20 years of PlayStation Studios are. And the fact that that didn't happen makes me go, this is people reading too much into moving people around on a chessboard in a boring business sense that doesn't make, we don't have the in-conference room shareholders, CEOs, I don't have a stake in it that way to be able to look at it and go, this is why it's happening. I think it's happening because that sounds confusing as fuck, as Sammy points out from the Variety article. And that's a weird way to run it. And I sure was leading to all sorts of baggage for both of them. And I would assume bottlenecks for both of them, because it is, we have to get together to discuss this decision to then make the next thing happen.
Yeah, I wonder how much you get into the issue of approvals and we need CEO signature, which might mean you need both signatures on a thing, which then backs things up more. And again, this is me speaking out my ass because I do not know how any of this shit works, right? My immediate read into this, I think, is one, everything that you just mentioned, right, as far as that. And then two, I wonder if there's a thing as far as having it be a co-CEO situation versus a sole person being the top of the food chain. I think that allows you to cast vision a little bit easier, even though it doesn't
100%.
sound like much is changing as far as their day-to-days. Herman Hulst is still doing everything as far as PlayStation Studios.
Yeah.
That was what he was doing before as CEO of SIE. That's what he's doing now, is what they called him, CEO of PlayStation Studios Group or something along those lines, right? Studio Business Group. It seems like his day-to-day is probably the exact same, aside
with
from
less, I would say, bullshit.
Yeah, with less bullshit.
I don't know if that's how Herman sees it. Who knows? That's it. Again, we'd have to have him in a very open conversation to get that answer out of him. But I would be like, cool, you want me to have eyes on the studios. We're not thrilled with the output of PlayStation first party. I don't need to be in these meetings also about the business development, whatever the fuck, part of SIE.
Yeah. Do you think does this change anything? I guess on the audience, do you think this is something that we see or experience on the audience side, a year or two down the line of oh man, the pipeline's gotten better. Oh man, it seems like Herman Hulst seems more hands-on. Does this affect us in any way? That we might be able to see?
I would say no. I think the only way is, and I specifically mean in a way we can see. In a way somebody could tell us, yes. You could see what you're saying, and it is that Neil Druckmann, Intergalactic, we're talking about this, and he's like, yeah, last year when Herman had some of his responsibilities removed so he could focus on being first party, he's been so much more hands-on, and this has helped in X, Y, and Z, da-da-da-da. But I doubt you'd get that level of transparency from PlayStation, nor is that really what's going to happen. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, I don't know. The way I would say you see something from this would be that if it is 6 months or a year, Herman is really demoted, is replaced, is something like that, then I could see it being that, okay, this was the canary in the coal mine that they weren't happy with his performance.
This was the first step of it.
Right. But I doubt that's what it is, because to go back to Herman and toss all this in, the live service push and the failure of it, right? I place that not solely, obviously, there's a million different leaders and stuff, but majorly on Jim Ryan. That's a decision that was made during Jim Ryan's tenure, right? And it's carried over. And again, we talking to Shuhei, right? And how him being put over to indies and this, that, the other. And Herman, it's what we're talking about with the studios of, hey, you have somebody telling you this is what we think our future is. You're going to go make those kind of games. And we're talking about Herman Hulst, the guy who did all these Killzones, Horizon, and we're like, we think he went in, and he's like, everything needs to be live service. I'm like, I don't buy that. I buy that Herman is very much like, probably the entire time in those meetings, be like, yep, and we can do the live service, and we should have the story-based games that everybody loves for us. But who knows?
I want to bring in some super chats. A lot of people have been writing in. Bander SN writes in and says, Grub had a good read on it. They wanted all these cancellations and closures to be pinned on Totoki, who was temp CEO. So that's when Nishino takes over. He gets a clean slate. Herman is in the same spot.
Sure.
Street Shadow writes in and says, this is not a demotion. His roles and responsibilities are still the same. Nishino was given an extra role and promoted after Totoki was moved up. Foxy Steve writes in and says, I don't foresee any immediate changes to SIE strategy. Larger companies are not very nimble when it comes to change. And again, that like, I think we're all in agreement here, right?
Yeah.
As far as that, of like, you know, it would have to be so inside baseball of like us talking to people who are in the know at PlayStation, being like, yo, what was up with that? And like them being it either being a mundane thing of, oh yeah, Herman got sick of the emails. He got sick of his inbox being full and having to show up to meetings that he didn't really care about or didn't concern him, or like it could range from that to, oh yeah, like they weren't happy with the last year of PlayStation software output, which like with how video game development works, like I couldn't see that happening because of how long video games take to develop and all these things. So another one from Volk Dasher.
Another one.
It's not great to say, but one day we will all look at buying Bungie for near $3 billion as the decision which cost so many people on all levels their job. Herman may have kept his, but trust is gone. Is that something you put on Herman Hulst, the acquisition of Bungie? And even the results of that, right? The layoffs, there was this reports last year about like Bungie seemingly misrepresenting the inner goings of like how they were doing and all that stuff.
I don't put it solely on Herman. I don't know. Again, this is such a weird question because that's so inside baseball in terms of who's doing what over there and making it. I think again the vision of PlayStation is part of that. And again, if the vision of PlayStation from on high is we need more live service things, and we're in that position for some reason, you and me are co-Herman. We're co-Hermans. All right. So Jim Ryan comes to us and he's like, we need to fucking crush live service. And we go, sure. And he's like, maybe we should acquire somebody. Yeah, we're going to look at Bungie. Yeah, we're going to say, Bungie could be a great one. Destiny 2. You don't know, underneath the rock, all the toxic shit and everything else going over there and the mismanagement. Yeah. Like, again, it's inside baseball. Maybe there's a conversation of, oh, maybe we could have looked into this more. We could have, like, I don't know. Maybe we could have done the Insomniac thing of, hey, Bungie, you're going to get some at-bats for us, but we're not going to buy you until you're fully proven. Yeah. Like, we're not going to buy you until you've published one or two things under PlayStation. And, like, we'll start off as just a pure partnership. And then later down the road, 4 years, 5 years in, when we really trust you, okay, cool, we'll acquire you. But I think at that time, like, you look at Bungie, you look at Destiny 1 and 2, you look at how well Destiny 2 seems to be going, and you look at the shift that you're trying to make right now as PlayStation, and I think you go, all right, cool. Yeah, like, this seems like the right decision, right? It's like if the #1 podcast host, or like, say we're trying to, like, this is a weird one because we already did this, right? But like, say we're trying to shift into Twitch streaming. Or no, let's say we're trying to shift into the D&D space. We're trying to shift into the D&D space, and we got to make D&D content because that's the hotness right now. Hotness. And Brendan Mulligan walks in, and if people listening, we don't know who Brendan Mulligan is. I don't know who that is. He's at Dropout. He's like a very incredible content creator, one of the best in the game right now, in my opinion, as far as like making nerdy content, making D&D content, even like the trivia stuff they do at Dropout. He knocks it all out of the park. Brendan Mulligan walks into our front door, and he's like, hey, and we're like, fuck, we're looking for this. Like, we're looking for a D&D guy, and he's the guy, and he's available. We just have to pay a lot of money for him. Yep. But we can get him. Yeah, we're going to get him. And then we learned that, like, oh, man, he's been struggling. Turns out Brendan Lee Mulligan wasn't all he was shocked. God damn it, he didn't solve this at all. Yeah, exactly. Like, that feels like kind of what happened with PlayStation. And, like, I think really what it's going to come down to is, what is the next step? What are you going to do with Bungie now? Does Marathon have the stuff? Does Project Gummy Bears have the stuff? Oh, you know you got to have the Gummy Bears. You know, is this Smash MOBA game gonna work? Like, right now, I think that's what I'm looking at as far as PlayStation and Bungie. What are the next steps with it? And can you salvage, like, this into something that is going to be fruitful for everybody involved? Agreed. Let's move it on
into breaking news. Greg, was this you that added this one?
I'm adding this, live from the chat and, of course, Barrett being on the ones and twos.
You want to tell me about it?
Sure, everybody. Breaking news, Mass Effect 5. I cut off some part of this. Mass Effect 5, Bioware doesn't require support from the full studio. EA moves some staff over to other teams. This is Rebecca Valentine at IGN.com. EA has announced it is restructuring Dragon Age and Mass Effect studio Bioware, moving a number of developers onto other projects within EA and focusing entirely on its upcoming Mass Effect game going forward. In a blog post from general manager Gary McKay, he wrote that the studio is, quote, taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at Bioware, end quote. Quote, given this stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio. We have incredible talent here at Bioware, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit, end quote. IGN understands that EA has already placed an unknown number of developers from Bioware into other equivalent roles within the company. A smaller number of Dragon Age team members are also seeing their roles terminated and are being offered time to apply to other roles within the company if they so choose. Bioware's structure has shifted repeatedly in recent years. The studio had a round of layoffs in 2023 and has seen a number of high-profile departures throughout the development of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. The most recent of which was Corinne Bush announcing her departure from the studio last week. It is unclear how many individuals work at Bioware today. IGN asked EA for any comment or specifics on how many individuals at Bioware are being impacted by this change, how many are facing potential layoffs, and how many will remain at the studio. EA did not provide the specifics, but a spokesperson offered the following statement. Quote, the studio's priority was Dragon Age. During this time, there were people continuing to build the new vision for the next Mass Effect. Now that Veilguard has shipped, the studio's full focus is Mass Effect. While we're not sharing numbers, the studio has the right number of people, Jesus Christ, and the right roles to work on Mass Effect at this stage of development, end quote. The new Mass Effect in question was announced 4 years ago and is still in the early stages of development. IGN understands that BioWare's current strategy is to prioritize one game at a time, as some developers who had been working on Mass Effect were previously moved to Dragon Age to get the project over the finish line and are now moving back. Per the blog post, Mass Effect development is now being led by series veterans, including Mike Gamble, Preston Watamanuku, Derek Watts, and Parrish Lay. This news comes a week after EA announced that Dragon Age: The Veilguard missed its player targets by nearly 50% and reduced its guidance for the fiscal year due to this and, more impactfully, weaker than expected results from College Football 25. That's not correct, though, right? That's got to be a typo on breaking news.
Yeah,
more importantly, it was
EAFC is what they mean.
EAFC was the one that missed it. College football killed it. The company will hold its Q3 earnings conference call on February 4th.
Huh. That seems very bad for BioWare.
100%. Yeah.
There's the part that stands out, right, is obviously the first couple of paragraphs, but them talking about we're taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at BioWare. That doesn't happen when your studio's killing it.
Yeah.
Like, if BioWare was a studio that was knocking it out the park, even with Dragon Age, The Veilguard. If Dragon Age: The Veilguard met expectations or even like exceeded expectations and everybody's happy with BioWare, you don't then go, okay, we're taking time between development cycles to reimagine how this works, and we're going to shift a lot of people off of BioWare to then work at other EA things. That to me sounds like you are getting ready to maybe sunset the studio, maybe after Mass Effect, if Mass Effect doesn't hit.
Do you think they get Mass Effect out the door?
No. Yeah. I don't think so at this point. Like, I don't know. What's your read on this?
BioWare.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking heartbreaking story of just EA not being able to get out of their own fucking way. Just let BioWare be BioWare, right? Let them. Why did we get in there and tinker with everything and change everything? And again, the push to Anthem and let's do a live service and a battle pass. It's like, fucking make RPGs. Just make story-based single-player RPGs. What the fuck are you doing? And Dragon Age: The Veilguard, a game I loved, a game Andy loved, a game some people love, a game a lot of people hate, all these different things. The number one knock I see from Dragon Age, well, that's not true, but from Dragon Age: The Veilguard haters that I want to listen to, is the fact that it wasn't Dragon Age. this isn't what the series has been. And as somebody who didn't connect to the series before Veilguard, I was like, great, that's awesome for me. But I totally get this not being what you want as a Dragon Age fan, right? And to sit there and be like, well, this is Dragon Age the Veilguard, a game they salvaged. It was supposed to be this multiplayer game, right? That was all these things and then morphed into this. We're lucky we got it as good as we got. And again, what I think of it versus whatever else, whatever. But like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, what a cautionary tale, but it's like not, but like fucking Mass Effect, the Mass Effect guys. Remember when Mass Effect was like the biggest thing in the fucking world? Casey Hudson was a goddamn rock star walking around talking about this thing. Like,
do you think they
made N7 Day? Like they were like the first developer, and that's not true, obviously, but one of the first developers I remember that was able to make their IP so much more and really celebrate their fans.
Do you think this gets into a Ship of Theseus situation where we are talking about Mass Effect, like these are the Mass Effect devs, but when we're talking about the last great Mass Effect, I'm not counting Legendary Edition, that was the collection of all the games. We're talking about the last great Mass Effect. You're probably talking about Mass Effect 3, which I know people have issues with the ending, yada, yada. But I think that's what we're talking about. And how long ago was that? 15 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
So you're talking about like that long since the last great Mass Effect. You're talking about Dragon Age Inquisition being a great title for the studio, and that being 2014. It's been over a decade since it's felt like Bioware has had a major hit, let alone a hit. I think the only good thing they put out is the Legendary Collection. Like I just looked it up on Google, and the IGN article from 2021 says Mass Effect Legendary Edition sales were well above EA's expectations. So that's a win. You can check that in the win box. But when you're talking about their last 3 major standalone titles, you're talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, which didn't do well. You're talking about Anthem, which didn't do well, and that was supposed to be a live service thing. So their expectations were probably even greater for that in terms of ongoing live revenue over years. And now you're talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard, which did half of what they expected to do.
Now, real quick pullover too.
Yeah.
I am not the numbers guy. I was always bad at predicting NPD. I was always bad at predicting yada, yada, yada. Do you think, because the one thing that's lost in, Dragon Age, met half of what EA's expectations were. Is it, and I haven't been on I've never been on these conversations on Games Daily because I've been doing other stuff. Is it reasonable that EA expected 3 million players in 2 months for Dragon Age? Because Dragon Age was never the most giant franchise, right? Like it was never Mass Effect. Mass Effect had this huge player base. Dragon Age didn't, and that was because of varying quality of the games. A lot of no's and there are a few yeses. Like, I just feel like one of the things that's getting lost in this conversation and even in today's restructuring is the fact that I don't think EA knows what they fucking have. Because again, I'm not saying I'm not saying that they have something huge with Veilguard. I'm saying I don't think Veilguard was ever going to be 3 million in 2 months. That sounds crazy.
I'm trying to find Jedi Survivor sales,
yeah,
just to like maybe put into context of the way EA is thinking about its own slate.
Yeah,
because EA, I think right now is averaging maybe like one major single player thing a year, and that is among like the multiplayer things, right? Yeah. The regular money makers, EAFC, Apex Legends, and like those live games. But then you have like that one major thing a year that I think, or that one major single player thing a year that I think you have those high expectations because you're only giving them like you're the one for the year, right? Star Wars Jedi Survivor was the one for 2023 when it came out, and I gotta imagine that did numbers. Now, when we get into those numbers, we also get into licensing. We get into a whole thing that is hard to bring into the conversation in comparison to Dragon Age. But I wonder if you are looking at Bioware and you're looking at them and going, hey, your siblings are outshining you, right? Like we got Respawn over here that is an A student right now, right? Respawn over here, as soon as they got to high school, they started killing it with their grades. And like in elementary school, BioWare, like you were that, but now you're in middle school, you're in high school, and you're getting C's. Like, you're getting B minuses, and the B minus isn't going to cut it when I got another kid over here that's making the A pluses over here.
Just to give more context in terms of Dragon Age specifically, Dragon Age 2, I think in the first 2 months sold over 2 million copies. It came out in March 2011, and by May 2011, it sold over 2 million copies. I don't have anything specific for Inquisition. Like they said, It was over 12 million units over its lifetime, but that was an update in 2024.
10 years after launch.
Yeah, but in its launch kind of window, they said it had sold almost the exact amount of launch week copies as 2011's Dragon Age 2. So Inquisition roughly in that same ballpark, maybe a little bit lower. I do think trying to expect something more for a series, like a higher launch
dormant series,
a dormant series that like people don't talk about in the same way. I do think expecting 3 million for a series like that wasn't selling, fucking crazy, like blowing out all expectations when it was coming out. I think it was a little high.
And that's my thing. So I'm not trying to care. I mean, obviously, I loved Veilguard. I think I would have loved to have seen what that would have looked like as a single player from the start and whatever else. But it's like, I'm not at all trying to carry water for the game right now. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if like. We keep coming back, like, oh, it did half of the expectations. Like, oh, yeah, but...
Yeah. And I wonder, like, I mean, you want to talk about Dragon Age being a somewhat dormant franchise, again, the previous title coming out in 2014.
Yeah.
I think you also talk about how much the space has evolved and how much competition you have.
Of course.
Where Dragon Age, I think maybe in 2010, Dragon Age might be a top, I don't know, 3 video game, like a fantasy Western RPG franchise.
Sure.
And in 2025, is it top 7? Like, we're talking about Baldur's Gate 3 coming out a couple years ago. You're talking about The Witcher 3 coming out in 2015 and changing the game, right? You're talking about, I guess Skyrim came out before Inquisition, but like you throw Elder Scrolls in there, right? Like, it's in the conversation, and you're talking about more and more of these games, I think, competing for that top spot to where, like, I think for what the hype was for Dragon Age the Veilguard, I think and this is just based off of like my own perception, right? Like, I would have expected more. Like, I thought Dragon Age the Veilguard would have demanded a bit more. Oh, it's a new Bioware RPG. Like, everybody's paying attention to it in the way that Mass Effect felt when that was coming out, right? But like, I don't think people are as hyped for Dragon Age when there are so many other Western fantasy RPGs that are doing it either just as good or way better.
Let's get fucking nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Next month, do you think Avowed is able to put up better numbers than Veilguard? Do you think 2 months in, Avowed's moved more than 1.5 or gotten more? And this is just players,
talking about
right?
Sales or players?
Players, because Game Pass. This is
Game Pass
including EA whatever play, right?
That's a really tough.
I think it does.
Question. You think it does?
I mean, as somebody who loves Veilguard, and we're about to do the Avowed hypecast, me and Paris, which is just us talking, watching old videos about Avowed, right? Like, I think Avowed's pound for pound a better RPG. I think like
really
100%. I think this is going to give you, this is Avowed based on the previews, based on the videos they've put out, right? And this is just strictly, I do not have code. I wish I fucking did. But Avowed, based on what they've shown and how they talk about it, is going to do what fucking Veilguard didn't let you do, which is like, do you want to be a dick? Do you want to be evil? Do you want to do you want this ending? Do you want to change that? Like, I think it's going, like when I talked about it in my preview of choosing my background and like the first person I run into, it's like, whoa, I have like 7 options to talk to respond because it's pulling from my backstories and this, and if I want to be an asshole, and how much I love the ideas of Baldur's Gate, even though I don't like the gameplay, but like the fact of, I could just kill this person and never see them again. Like, that's what I wanted from Starfield, what I wanted from Veilguard, right? You don't get that with your party. Whereas I think Avowed is going to be that nerdy person's RPG, and that's what I want out of it.
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about when Starfield launched on Game Pass, obviously, like, Starfield, but that's a different thing. But that got, 10 million?
Something crazy.
In, like, a few days. And so if we're talking about 10 million in a few days for Starfield, I could see it being 3 million for
I think
Avowed
it's going to be
in
this
the first
flip
week.
where, excuse me, there were so many expectations for Veilguard from Dragon Age fans, and it didn't live up to that, right? I think there's some expectation on Avowed because of Obsidian and like that. But I think it's going to live up to what an Obsidian RPG is going to be, and I think the time it's hitting right now, where we're all very hungry for new games, right? I think it's going to hit at the right time. It's going to be on Game Pass. It's going to be hopefully knock on glass great, and I think it's going to be so much buzz from nerdy ass RPG people like me that love Western RPGs that it'll get other people like, I got Game Pass. Why not boot it up? And try?
It's at 3 million the first week, not in the first week, but I think I can see it over
2
time.
months is what I'm saying. Can it beat 1.5 or the expected 3 million in 2 months?
I can see it.
Okay.
Man, I didn't even think about that kind of comparison.
That's why I'm here, everybody.
That's wild. You know what else is wild?
The good terrorist.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know if I can transition to ad.
Just be really slow about it.
I don't know if I can transition to ad after that one. So let's read some super chats real quick.
You can.
I don't know if we can.
It's fine. They watch the beginning. They get the joke. It's a joke. It's called Kind of Funny. Games Daily. Not We're fucking buttoned up serious all the time. We don't do anything, okay? Games Daily.
This is the third time in the last week that you've like
Games
sworn
Daily.
right before it had
Games Daily. Kind of funny. Games Daily. I've done it. I did enough time.
A brown spot writes in and says, as a decade-long Dragon Age fan, Veilguard was everything I could have asked for. It is turning the ship, but not as quickly as EA would have liked. Also, a really short marketing window for a long dormant franchise with Dragon Age. Am I coping? Maybe. I think
we also glossed over this. It was at the top of the conversation about what this means for Mass Effect. Like them slimming down the studio and they're focusing on one game. Again, I think it's not a great look for BioWare after all the years they've had and all the trouble they've had to get to where they are now. But I do understand of like, we don't need the Dragon Age people for where Mass Effect is, But it's like, what does this mean? Do we like, what are our hopes for Mass Effect? Do we expect Mass Effect to be great? Back to the ship of Theseus. Like, are the people who is EA staying out of the way? Like all the tumultuous leadership changes over there. Like, what are we really going to get with the next Mass Effect?
I'm also fascinated by what happens if Mass Effect is great. Like, is the writing already on the wall for BioWare where it's like it's too late? Like this studio hasn't delivered for us in over a decade, right? As far as like something major. If Mass Effect comes out and it's what we want it to, do they just start hiring more people again? Like, do they bring in the people that they shifted to other projects just now? Like, how does the studio evolve past that? And does it just become the Mass Effect studio then? Is it you only have one IP now? Like,
I mean, that's their last gasp, right?
Yeah.
If they can't make this Mass Effect hit and be humongous out of the gate, then they'll close BioWare.
One Bite Snack writes in and says, isn't it possible that the influx of Dragon Age dev on the project was just too much too soon and they were burning budget?
Yes. 100%. That's what I'm saying, I think, in terms of if they're just doing the one thing and they're focused on this thing.
Nando Tarichi writes in and says, why doesn't Herman Holst... Oh, this is back to the PlayStation story. Why doesn't Herman Holst give an interview to you or any other podcast? It would clear up so many questions fans have. All the best from Netherlands.
I mean, you'd have to ask PlayStation that question, why they don't do that and make them available. I think PlayStation, I you know what, let's turn it back to yesterday's conversation and throughout the week's conversation about Phil Spencer and how people justifiably in some respects, I think unjustifiably in others, want to crucify him for things he said 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. PlayStation understands that they just shut the fuck up and make games. Like, people might be mad, but you're still buying the console. You're still doing the thing. You're still like, why step on the rake? Why give anybody ammunition? Why answer something again that is also matters to so few of us? You're a person listening to a podcast, watching a daily video game podcast. God bless you. I'm just like you. We're not the majority of PlayStation 5 owners. They're not like, we're very important to the ecosystem and everything else, but so many people don't care, and so it's not worth saying something wrong to then get it broken out that it does end up somewhere. It does end up actually in the ether.
Man, we got a lot more super chats, but we'll get to some of those later. For now, let me tell you about patreon.com/kindoffunny and youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, where you can get the Kind of Funny membership, which allows you to get shows ad-free. Speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode's brought to you by Built. If you're a renter, I'd start taking advantage of Built if I were you. Here's the thing. We earn points on groceries, travel, and practically everything else we buy. But we should also be earning points on rent, one of our biggest monthly expenses. Built changed the game by letting renters earn high-value points on rent and around their neighborhood. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your Built points toward. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So, if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/kindoffunny. That's joinbilt.com/kindoffunny. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you there. Joinbuilt.com/kindoffunny to start earning points on your rent payments today. This episode's brought to you by BetterHelp. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled in. In 2025, maybe you're ready for a plot twist, or maybe there's part of your story you've been wanting to revise. Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create the meaningful story you deserve to live. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp, and they love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And it serves over 5 million people worldwide. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny. BetterHelp.com/kindafunny.
And we're back with story number 2. PlayStation accounts on PC are getting a major shakeup. This is from the PlayStation blog. Starting with tomorrow's release of Marvel Spider-Man 2 for PC, we're working to add more benefits to playing with an account for PlayStation Network. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, coming April 3rd, 2025. In addition, God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered will all soon be adding in-game content unlocks for PlayStation Network account users. An account for PlayStation Network will become optional for these titles on PC. Players who still opt to sign into a PlayStation Network account will also enjoy added benefits like trophies and friend management. PlayStation. Enjoy it. Was that always the thing? Trophies on PC?
Yeah, they started doing that recently.
Gotcha.
But it's not like a new trophy list. I think it just shares the trophy list with like a PS5 trophies. Yeah.
Gotcha. Details on new benefits for players who opt to sign in with an account for PlayStation Network. You got Marvel Spider-Man 2. You can get early unlock suits, the Spider-Man 2099 black suit and the Miles Morales 2099 black suit. For God of War Ragnarok, you can gain access to the armor of the Black Bear set for Kratos at the first lost items chest in Realms Between Realms. In The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, you can get plus 50 points to activate bonus features and unlock extras. And you can get Jordan's jacket from Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, as a skin for Ellie. Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, I like that one. That's actually the one on there. I'm like, oh, okay.
And then Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, you can gain access to Nora Valiant outfit. Game creators at PlayStation Studios will continue to work on bringing more benefits to players who sign up for a PlayStation Network account, so be sure to follow studio channels for more information.
Like the chat says, cross save.
Oh my god, please.
Then you would get me.
I love this story. One, because it's good news, but also because when you see the tweet they put out for this, it is like the most like, here you fucking go. like it's the most boring. Like, I think it's just a PlayStation logo. Like, they don't even have key art for the games. They're just like, here, like, fine, it's optional now, all right? And also, you made us go to our studios and go, hey, figure out how to put an outfit and give it to the players for free.
You've delayed Intergalactic by a month because they had to make this goddamn
like, this
suit.
is such a, like, here you go, fuckers. Like, we're tired of your complaining type of thing. But good for them for making
it's the right thing to do. It's what they should have done from, the start. They shouldn't have been, if you want to get people to use the network, don't fucking put the gun to their head. Let them have something fun for it. This is the whole thing. I couldn't believe how badly they fucked this up for Helldivers.
Oh,
yeah. Like, give them a new suit of armor and make it optional. What are you talking about? We all would have done it.
That's why we all hated that U2 album.
Exactly.
Hated it, bless. Don't tell me you liked that album.
Well, no, because that was only on iPhones, right?
Yeah.
I never had an iPhone, so I never had to worry about that. I was laughing for my Android Samsung moment.
I'm sure you were gingerbread.
Had a slide keyboard. It was great. What about gingerbread? Are you talking about the operating systems? Nah, man, I had ice cream.
Fucking
I don't even know what I had, but it was probably something like that. Cheesecake, something like that. Story number 3. We got one more PlayStation shakeup. Sony announces plans to shift away from offering PS4 games through PlayStation Plus. This is Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. This one I do have a super chat question for. How often do you play PS Plus games? This is one that comes up because I realized as I was reading the story that I have reached the point where I've become Janet Garcia, where I've stopped redeeming my PS Plus games.
Yeah.
And I used to make fun of her for it. I'm like, they're free. Like, just redeem them. And like, I don't think I've redeemed a PS Plus game in months. And so I've become what I've hated.
Sure, but it's because you've been doing this long enough.
Yes. But I do want
everything you want, you have. So it's like then if something else comes along, well, I never asked for a code for this, so I guess I should redeem it.
Well, that's why I want to ask, is to make sure that this is a me thing and like a us thing of us, getting codes and all this stuff, right? Versus like, because PS Plus has been around for a very long time now. And I feel like back in when I used to listen to Beyond in the early 2010s, throws a shine to PS Plus.
Oh, sure. It was,
like,
new, it was a new thing. Me and Colin were tracking how much money we were saving. Yeah,
like every month it felt like Christmas.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if it still feels like Christmas to people.
They just dropped the new games today, right?
Yeah, they announced them. The games are Payday 3, High on Life, and Pac-Man World Repack. Like, is that Christmas?
That don't feel like fucking Christmas.
Is that Christmas to anybody?
Doesn't feel like fucking Christmas.
Here's the other thing, too. I don't know if I read the story, but like, here's my other thing, too, is that year one of PS5, I feel like it still felt like Christmas. Oh, you're getting these day one games. Like, you're getting, you're getting Maquette. Like, that's a PS Plus game. Oh, we got... I know there are more examples I just can't think of. Was Stray? No, Stray was PS Plus Extra. It was Extra. It wasn't
that's why it gets confusing too. Is that I feel like the free games for PlayStation Plus in quotes have been undercut because there's in the library of the PlayStation's Xbox to or answer to Game Pass, right? So it's like it's even more of a convoluted message of what's going on. But the other day, like I'm in this weird spot right now, right, where we have this free time, and so I was like, I'm gonna just pop in and look around the store. And went to the PlayStation Plus tab and looked at it. I'm like, I don't want to download this crap.
There you go. Jumping into the story, Sony has announced its intention to shift away from offering PS4 games as part of its monthly PlayStation Plus offering. Starting in 2026, offering PS4 games will no longer be a key benefit of the service, with Sony instead turning its focus to providing PS5 titles. Quote, as many of our players are currently playing on PS5 and have shifted toward redeeming and accessing PS5 titles from the monthly games and game catalog benefit, PlayStation Plus is also evolving with this trend and will focus on offering PS5 titles through the monthly games and game catalog benefit starting January 2026, said Adam Michel, Sony Interactive Entertainment's director, game services content. That's a long title. Quote, as we shift to PS5, PS4 games will no longer be a key benefit and will only be occasionally offered for PS Plus monthly games and game catalog starting January 2026. We may still provide titles that can be playable on both PS4 and PS5 consoles after this date, end quote. This move won't affect the PS4 monthly games that players have already redeemed from the PS Plus offerings, which will still be accessible as long as they remain a member.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Yeah, give me more than PS5 titles.
Yeah, exactly.
Time.
You got enough now? Enough PlayStation 5 games out there? You're going to be able to do it?
Yeah.
It's more of a joke about the output of the PlayStation 5 lifecycle.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they got at least 5 games that are exclusive to PS5 that they can push on us. Because now I'm trying to think of, like, what are the PS5 games that they start to put in there? Because they got to start at year one. And it's like, you put on there the Pathless.
That has to have already gone through once, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
You put on there.
I remember how much you loved the Pathless. You were always talking about the Pathless.
And I still love the Pathless. I got to go back and play it because this is what I realized.
Yeah.
Is launch libraries have such a shine to them.
Sure.
Where I'll play anything on launch.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Like, Sackboy's A Big Adventure was like in my short list. It was in my short list for Game of the Year.
It's a combination of excitement and desperation, you know?
But justification.
Yeah.
I paid this much money for this system.
Also, it's kind of fucked up. Like, think about it. It's 2025. We're coming up on, like, those games are about to be 5 years old at the end of this year, and that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
I think they're already... No.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. November 2020.
It was end of 2020. That's a good point. But I stand by. The Pathless was a masterpiece. And it must have been. I stand by it. The Pathless, it had to have been a masterpiece.
Okay.
Because I remember it as a masterpiece. Now, was it because it was my first time experiencing that nice of frame rate?
Of course.
With the PS5?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But like, they had Shadow of the Colossus influence. The Pathless is amazing. Story number 4.
Hold on, you got it. Responses on SuperChats.
Oh.
IC Wiener says, I use PlayStation Plus games to build a library for my son. That's cute.
Oh, that's really nice.
That's really smart.
Damn.
The Portland Kevin says, I alternate every game. A PlayStation Plus game and then a purchased game. I only play something if I want to, and I still have a massive library to play.
Wow.
That's fascinating. I love the idea of that, being committed to it like that.
I like that. Let's hop in to story number 4. Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33 is so popular, the dev can't meet collector's edition
This is
demand.
what happens when you have an awesome presentation.
Yeah.
Awesome presentation off of Xbox Direct. Because I've been the same way of like, I didn't even know, I barely knew what this game was. And then we saw it and I was like, fuck, I want to play this?
Now somebody said, go play Solar Ash Blessing. I did play Solar Ash, and I didn't like it as much as the Pathless.
Damn.
I love the Pathless. I'm pulling from Stephen Talaby at Push Square. Upcoming PS5 RPG Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is looking very promising indeed. And we're not the only ones who think so. The game has garnered enough fans that it's already run out of its collector's edition. In a statement on social media, the game's official account has outlined the situation. Quote, never could we have imagined that we'd have sold out of our collector's editions so early, nor did we know the demand for our physical editions would be so high, it reads. Basically, the game is already so popular that fans can no longer purchase the collector's edition, and it looks like restocking isn't a guarantee. Quote, truthfully, getting these made was a monumental feat for us. We are so grateful to see that the demand was there and that it exceeded our expectations, the statement says. Though we will try our best to explore the options of restocking, we cannot promise it yet, and we hope you understand the limitations with this, end quote. Good for them. Can't wait for this game. Looks fantastic. I agree with you that the presentation was so good that
you got to play it. You got to play it.
Yeah, you have to at least show up for it. It's on Game Pass, right?
Yep.
Hell yeah. Story number 5. Sega XD launches a brain rental service.
What the fuck is this sentence already? Letting
companies rent its game developers to brainstorm ideas and write up projects. This is Amber V at Automaton. There's a lot to talk about with this.
They're coming to you to figure out what the super game is.
Now, can you, before we even get into the article, can you guess what they're calling this service? The brain rental service.
Brainbuster.
Close. It's called Braintle. Rental. They put the words brain and rental together.
Get the fuck out of here.
A brain. That's some what's the fucking Ryan Gosling movie that was a sequel? Oh, Blade Runner 2049.
Didn't see that one coming. I was like, what bad Ryan Gosling title thing was there?
Jumping into the story, Sega XD, Sega's gamification subsidiary, has launched a peculiar new service that lets you rent the brains of professional game designers. Appropriately called Braintle.
Appropriately, Amber V.
The platform and its concept feel like a breath of fresh air amidst the ongoing AI brainstorming hype train.
Fair enough there, okay.
Through Braintle, entities like companies and local governments can request game developers support in coming up with ideas, drafting proposals, and working out the details needed to get a game development project started. The service is not available to individuals and is being marketed towards corporations that want to create a game, presumably for marketing or other PR purposes, but do not possess human resources for game planning. The idea... Oh god, I scrolled too fast and I lost it.
The idea is to provide a way for companies to enlist game developers' expertise only when they need it. The platform offers 3 plans at different price points. An idea plan, Jesus, which involves support in brainstorming and coming up with ideas. A proposal plan, which involves the creation of a project, and a detailed plan, in which the client receives detailed materials for the game project. Braintle's roster of rentable game planners includes several experienced developers with track records in app development, board game production, and Sega game development.
I'm of two minds with this. One, I think this is really cool and really innovative, and I think to the article's point of like, hey, in a world that is looking for AI to
like trying to get rid
come
of
up with
people,
like we're putting our developers to work and all that stuff. On the other hand, I hope they are increasing the developers' pay or giving them some kind of like compensation or like
credit would be, I think, more
credit.
anything,
yeah,
right?
like I hope it is not just like, oh yeah, now part of your job is we're renting you out. Like go help Capcom or the government figure out their gaming stuff.
It's just to steal a classic Tom Green segment, Undercutter's Pizza. If you are a video game developer thinking of using Sega's new service that lets you rent the brains of professional game designers just to brainstorm game ideas, I will sell you Kinda Funny's brains at 25% less. You know what I mean? Whatever Sega's pricing it at for the brainstorming thing, you and me get on a Zoom call for a fucking hour, and we're like, all right, what do you got? Like, we got a hot dog, and he's got 4 legs. I'm like, all right,
I'm sure we know. I'm sure we know as much as the lead developer of Persona. Like, I'm sure we know as much as what they got.
This is brainstorming, though. This is like top level, like.
I don't know.
Oh, man, all right. This hot dog, I want the world to be a movie theater, a snack bar. That's where he lives. He's got a friend. It's a little popcorn kernel, right?
Let's roleplay this.
Honestly, this is like, that sounds like a Psychonauts level. And honestly, Greg, you're killing it. You're selling me.
I'm saying, let's take what people loved about Cool Spot. We make it a hot dog out of 4 legs. His friend is a popcorn kernel unpopped. What has happened is the manager, who's the boss, has taken the kernel and is gonna pop him. We gotta get him. We gotta save him.
Let's roleplay this a bit. I'm a developer on a new upcoming AAA video game. You are a Sega developer. I'm renting your brain.
No, I'm Kinda Funny. You're renting the Kinda Funny.
Okay, I'm renting Kinda Funny's brain.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm making this game. I want it to be like an action adventure game. I'm looking for maybe a setting. What kind of settings are hot right now? You think?
Well, see. Hot is interesting because it's Kinda Funny. We want to go the opposite, right? We're not going to chase trends. We're going to make trends. So yeah, you could be in the jungle, already done a million times, right? You can be in the Arctic, Already done a million times. You want action adventure? I'm saying we put you on the moon, but not the current moon, a far-flung future moon, all right? And so what we've got here is moon bases all the time. This is a stopover where we used all the resources of Earth. So this is now what then became the planet portal of where we're jumping off, right? Where we have to go, We're going to Mars, we're going to Venus, we're starting colonies out there. This was the closest one. But guess what? Earth's resources are all gone. Nobody's really used this in a long point. So you're just a custodian who's been hanging out there. But guess what? Now we got invaders who are coming there. They want to do all this stuff. They want to try to fix Earth. So now we got to fight them all off with our broom. Action adventure. We're doing it.
Now, I like the idea.
Brainstorming, no bad ideas.
No bad ideas. Now, what I need your brain now for is there's a mechanic in our moon game.
Yeah.
It's now a moon game where when we get into the action segments, whenever players press square, they clip through the world and the game crashes. How do I fix this bug?
That's not what the brainstorming section is. You didn't pay for that
plan. The Sega developers would know.
You didn't know. They wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
Sega developers would know. They
That
make
is
games.
not what-
Hey,
That's not how that works, Blood.
I'm making an Unreal game, Greg. I need your Unreal experience.
You paid for an idea plan that involves support in brainstorming and coming up with ideas, end quote.
Okay, that's fair. You know what?
A detailed plan is the highest one, and it says in which client receives detailed materials for the game project. You're not coming with a broken-ass game falling through the moon and saying, fix that.
Yeah, okay. You got me.
I think you're going to give me a cool mechanic, and what I was going to say is the idea is that we've domed sections of the moon, right? So you're thinking zero-G. I mean, obviously there would be some stuff, but you, as the custodian, you have this cool data pad, and so you can use the vents as offensive weapons. So you can vent people out into space or whatever.
Oh, I like that. Phil, you're just pitching your own game now. Like, I didn't even tell you.
No, he's just pitching Dead Space.
You paid for me. No, well, kind of, but no bad guys like that. You know what I mean? I'm more. I'm into the hot dog game. I think we got something there. That sounds like a fun Flash iOS game.
I like it, Greg. The hot dog game.
Drinkbox, what are you fucking doing? Get me in there. Let's make an iOS hot dog game.
I like it. Oh man, I had an idea. There was an idea that I came up with as we were podcasting, thinking about the devs for Rift and the Necrodancer and the rhythm thing, how they could work on a different franchise. But I'll figure it out. Hopefully the idea will come back to me by the end of the show.
Okay.
But Greg, your hot dog game idea is so big. It's so huge. It's humongous.
It's a huge wiener.
Big old wieners. But if I wanted something smaller, say the tiniest news I needed to know about, where would I go?
You'd go to our last news story, the We News channel, where we cover all the small news items you need to know about.
It just came to me. There was a super chat earlier. Where is it? There's a super chat that wrote in toward the beginning of the show about Parappa the Rapper. I was saving it for the super chat section. I'll get to it in the super chat section. But remind me, if I say Parappa the Rapper, remind me that I was going to connect it to Rift of the Necrodancer.
I like what you're doing.
We news for you. From Eurogamer, the developer of Marvel Snap has confirmed it has landed a new publishing partner in the wake of this month's outage that saw the game suddenly become unplayable in the US. In a statement, Second Dinner said it had already signed agreements and started the work to bring almost all operational and publishing responsibilities in-house, with support from Skystone Games, a US-based indie games publisher. Man, it's like one of those ones where like you break up with your partner and you already had another partner lined up, because that was so quick. Like, you dumped them quick.
You gotta do.
And you're Marvel Snap, so you know you're in high demand. Like, you know you're the hotness.
Who knows what this administration is gonna do? All right, you gotta get out. You gotta get out. You gotta get done. You gotta be done.
The latest major update for No Man's Sky has been released today. Worlds Part 2 brings the game up to version 5.5 and includes new planets, new stars, and new story elements. The update features new landscapes, and a blog post developer Hello Games said the algorithm of the universe has evolved to generate beautiful new mountains, deep valleys, and sprawling plains on untouched planets waiting to be discovered. I read somewhere, I couldn't find it in the story, but like I read somewhere that they added like 1 trillion new planets or something.
I saw
like
that too. Yeah.
Insane.
Goddamn, No Man's Sky. Every time this happens, I gotta go back, I feel like. And the few times I've done it, I never get further than where I always end up stopping. Usually when they're like, all right, now really make a base. I'm like, I don't want to fuck it.
It's me in Outer Wilds, where I keep getting to the same place, and I'm like, what if I played something fast and quick instead? What if I appealed to my just distracted brain? Star Wars skins are coming to Destiny 2. They look really cool. From GamesIndustry.biz, VR studio Fast Travel Games has cut 30 jobs, primarily in its publishing, marketing, and admin departments. Although, quote, the studio will be impacted as it consolidates down to one development team, end quote. Sad news there. From VGC, Capcom says it's still on track to beat last year's net profit, despite being 33% down year-on-year after Q3. The publisher is relying on Monster Hunter Wilds to end its fiscal year with a bang. Silent Hill 2 Remake sold 2 million copies, and then Dino Crisis and Dino Crisis 2 are now available on GOG.
Damn, there was a lot of Wii news there.
A lot of Wii news there. So much Wii news that I like elevated one of the Wii news items to a main news story. Yeah, it was like that.
A promotion.
And that is enough of Wii news. The end.
Don't forget about Parappa the Rapper.
Thank you. I'm going to bring in that super chat right now. CJ Splitson writes in and says, speaking of rhythm games, would a new Parappa work in 2025 if the music was really good? Maybe Sony music artists could cameo as characters. And to that,
fuck yeah,
I say give Parappa to the Rift of the Necro Dancer. Parappa the, oh, is it Rappa?
Rappa.
Give Parappa the Rappa.
There you go.
Are you sure it's not Rapper?
Positive.
Yes.
Give
That's like how your mom, like, are you playing Parappa the Rapper?
Give Parappa the Rappa to the Rift of the Necrodancer developer.
Sure.
They did great work with Cadence of Hyrule, as far as I can tell. And the art style for Rift, I feel like you could translate that into some Parappa shit and it would work.
Sure.
Oh, I was right. It's Parappa the Rapper.
You were saying Parappa, though.
No, this last time I said it as a joke.
Okay.
The whole time I was saying
okay,
Parappa the Rapper.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
But you understand why I was confused?
No.
Barrett, hit him again with it? Because you're saying...
You had said earlier Parappa.
Parappa the Rapper is what you were saying. I'm saying Parappa.
I said it as a joke the last time.
Okay,
but
fair
earlier on, I was saying Parappa the Rapper.
Okay.
Rewind the tape, everybody.
No, I definitely said rapper when I meant Parappa.
Gotcha.
Also, I'm sure you brought this up, but yeah, they made the Zelda one. I forget what that was.
Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah, but like, they know how to have fun with other IPs, so hell yeah.
Yeah, they know how to make...
I can't believe we haven't gotten more Parappa. You would think that, like, out of all the dormant PlayStation franchises, like, and I'm saying this as a Patapon fan, I get more Patapons, but I'm not getting nobody to do anything with Parappa.
You think they'd be happy with the 30,000 sales? Because that's what it's going to do.
But again, I mean,
real.
I'm not saying you fucking put Sony Santa Monica on it. You do something like this. You do a little thing.
I mean, they tested the waters, I feel like, with the remastered, you know?
Yeah, but nobody wants old games.
And somebody in chat says, Blessing can never be wrong. We have the VOD. And I'm telling you to rewind the VOD. I clarified.
Everybody calm down.
Everybody calm down.
It's fucking Wednesday. We're going to be nice.
No, man. It's too late. They ruined my Wednesday.
It's time to swing.
Let's see. More super chats for you.
Today I was getting berries, and me and Ben were just hanging out like we always do, but I was getting berries out of the kitchen. And I saw it happen, and I just wanted to see how it was going to play out. And Ben just hauled off, and just right in the penis to me. And I was like, no. And he goes, and I gave him a firm no. And he goes, sorry. And just like bursted in tears because I was so curt with the no. He knows better.
Video game journalist writes in and says, I write for popular indie game magazine, Patch Magazine. I'd love to interview one of you and send you some issues. Oh. Physical Max still live. That's awesome.
Cool.
I think send an email to Greg.
Yeah, go for it. I thought he was gonna take our brainstorming. He wanted us to brainstorm.
Yeah, that's what I thought that was going to.
Don't give him the hot dog idea.
No, the hot dog. I mean, now that I've said it, it's copyrighted. Similar thing to my T-shirt idea. I have a T-shirt game I'm thinking of right now. That's me now. Don't make a T-shirt game. It's me.
Jake Stepp writes in and says, never mind. I realized you were not connecting the title to Brain Toll. I'm stupid.
You're not gonna read every super chat.
Well, sometimes I jump into them thinking that like I saw Brain Toll.
Oh, this is going somewhere.
Yeah, I was like,
disregard the last super chat.
I'm skipping that. Oh, I like this. Cozy Bear says, "Marry, fuck, kill, Brain Toll, Transfarring, and Revengeance."
Oh wow.
Oh,
I kill Brain Toll. I mean, Transfarring so ahead of its time. I would marry it and I would fuck Revengeance.
I'm marrying... Actually, no, Revengeance sounds sexy. I'm fucking Revengeance. I'm with you. Marry, Transfarring, kill Brain Toll. I think that's it for Super Chats, actually.
Booyah.
CJ Switson says, a Parappa game might sell $30K, but cross-media. Put out that cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Put out the live-action film featuring
the
Michael
Golden
Cera.
Book, yeah. Michael Cera.
Hey, man.
Hey, it's me, Parappa.
That's going to be his Parappa's catchphrase.
Parappa the Rapper. Parappa the Rapper.
Michael Cera, we definitely would call it Parappa the Rapper. Let's hop into You're Wrong. Of course, you can write in and let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. Joey writes in and says, Dragon Age Inquisition sold 12 million copies, which is almost as much as the Mass Effect series. And then Kebab says, the No Man's Sky update does add trillions of new worlds via purple star systems, Unlike past updates, these are additive and don't replace any existing worlds in the yellow, blue, green, and red star systems. Previous updates like this affected the entire universe, often changing worlds that players had already settled on. So there you go.
Cool.
Greg, that's it for kindoffunny.com/wrong, and that is it for Kind of Funny Games Daily. Remember, each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Enjoy GAMESCAST next, which is going to be Paris and Greg in an Avowed hypecast, and the stream after, which is supposed to be Mike playing Kingdom Hearts 2. But until next time, Game Daily.